and welcome to the 559th meeting of the City of Laurel Planning Commission. If you wish to be heard at this meeting, please sign the speaker list provided on the table at the side of the council chamber. This evening, Brooke Quillen, the secretary to the Planning Commission, is not here. We send our sympathies and condolences as today she attended the funeral of her great aunt, Olga Owens, who many in Laurel know and loved. So this evening, to help us run this meeting, will be our director, Christian Pulley. And with that, Christian, if you would please call the roll.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. Councilman Smalls?
Here.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Kish?
Here.
Mr. Welford?
Here.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 2, approval of the minutes from the June 26th meeting. We have received these by hard copy. Are there any questions for staff? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the minutes from June 27th as written.
I'll second that.
June 26th, is that correct? 26 versus 27? Oh, on one we have 26, one we have 27.
It should be June 26th, ma'am.
26. Okay. So with that change, Christian, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Yes.
You have a motion carries.
Agenda item 3, amended site and landscape plan application and resolution number 18-03-PC, American Legion Post 60, filed by Freelance Construction Incorporated. Also in this agenda item, we have a public hearing on the application and a final action by the Planning Commission. Staff report from Nathan Grace. Nathan?
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Applicant Freelance Construction Incorporated is seeking amended site and landscape approval to extend an extending deck 1,248 square feet into the parking lot, relocate 5 handicap parking spaces to the front of the building, and lower and extend the curb to make it handicap accessible at 2 Main Street. The property is zoned industrial commercial services and surrounded by industrial properties on all sides. If approved, the existing site will have 159 parking spaces, including 6 handicap spaces, which complies with Section 20-16.5 of the City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code. The project will not take up any more green space than what is currently on the site. It is recommended that the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve the amended site and landscape plan application for 2 Main Street with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall obtain all required City of Laurel permits prior to start of construction. 2, the applicant shall ensure that all proposed ADA parking spaces are a minimum of 9 feet in width. 3, the applicant shall ensure that there will be an accessible route from the handicap parking spaces to the building. 4, if there are grading changes over the existing 8-foot or 8-inch sewer main that is on the property, then a plan should be submitted to WSSC for review as a non-DR project type. And 5, the applicant shall comply with all local, state, and federal laws and regulations for protection of the use of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
Not for me.
Not for me, I have none.
At this time, I do not have anyone signed up to speak. I would like to make note that in the audience we have the applicant, the contractor, and architect. If there are any questions from this group for any of them, and I will open the public hearing on this. Councilman Smalls.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask the applicant if you come forward. I just have a couple of really general questions.
Do you think the applicant or the contractor? Okay.
Contractor. Okay.
If you would please state your name and address for the record.
John Garish, 3504 Green Court, Laurel, Maryland.
So this project, not that I have any issues with it, this is just, I'm curious. You're proposing to come out into the parking lot to take up to 5 spaces more or less. So you're coming straight out from the existing deck, straight out. Was any consideration given to wrapping the deck around the corner in the area where you're going to locate relocate the 5 parking spaces? None?
Nope.
That was the only option you considered, just bringing it
It comes out
straight out?
straight out. That's it. It doesn't make any turns anywhere.
No, I know it doesn't, but
Yeah.
I'm asking, did you give that in your design consideration?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have.
All
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this agenda item? Hearing and seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on the application at 7:07. And if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve the amended site and landscape plan for application for 2 Main Street with the following conditions: that the applicant shall obtain all required City of Laurel permits. The applicant shall ensure that all proposed ADA parking spaces are a minimum of 9 feet. The applicant shall ensure that there will be an accessible route from the handicap parking spaces to the building, and that if there are grading changes over the existing 18-inch sewer main that is now on the property, that a plan should be submitted to WSSC, and that the applicant shall comply with all applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations for protection of the use of the property.
Do I have a
That's
second?
my motion.
Madam Chairman, I second that.
And just as clarification, your motion includes both the application and resolution?
Yes, and also resolution number 18-03-PC.
Thank you. Ms. Pulley, if you would call the roll, please.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, special exception application number 885, Zips Dry Cleaners, 706 Washington Boulevard, filed by BBB Enterprise Incorporated for recommendation to the Board of Appeals. And that is Monta.
Good evening, Madam Chair and fellow board members. The applicant BBB Enterprise, Inc. is seeking special exception approval to operate a Zips dry cleaner. The property is located at 706 Washington Boulevard, Laurel, Maryland. The building was constructed in 1985. The property is zoned CG Commercial General. Per the ordinance, a dry cleaning plant retail is permitted only by special exception. The Zips dry cleaner will clean garments on site. Previous action on this site include July 18, 1985, special exception number 341, Speedy Muffler King was granted a muffler replacement facility. Most recently, September the 24th, 2015, special exception number 856, Monroe Muffler Brake was granted an auto service center with engine and minor vehicle repair with a waiver of 1 parking space. It excludes auto body repair and painting. The proposed Zips dry cleaner will occupy 3,900 square feet on an 18,000 square foot parcel. The proposed dry cleaner will be located in the Central Plaza Shopping Center. The proposed dry cleaner meets the required parking for a dry cleaner plant retail. The new Zips dry cleaner will be facing Washington Boulevard, which is US Route 1 southbound lane. The Central Plaza Shopping Center current uses are 2 restaurants, Arby's and Pasta Plus. It is staff recommendation that the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve the special exception for 706 Washington Boulevard Zips dry cleaners with the following conditions outlined in the technical staff report. Number 1, the applicant shall obtain appropriate City of Laurel building permits prior to renovation. The applicant shall obtain a City of Laurel electrical permit. The applicant shall obtain a City of Laurel mechanical permit. The applicant shall obtain an air quality permit from the Maryland Department environment and adhere to all approval and procedures as required by Maryland law. The applicant shall obtain a life safety permit. The applicant needs to provide one ADA parking space with proper signage. The applicant shall obtain a City of Laurel sign permit. And lastly, the applicant shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations for the protection of the use of this property. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
I do.
Councilman Smalls.
Martha, is there, aside from the 3,900 square feet that the applicant is proposing to use, any other uses that you are aware of that could possibly be coming to that space?
Not at this time.
So it's going to be subdivided similar to what the old Safeway was at some point for the remaining unused portion?
No.
No?
I think when you gave the square footage, you were
Right.
giving Central Plaza. So Fred,
I see,
I
I
believe
see.
it's going to take the whole property that was the automotive part.
Yes, and that's
It's filling that
3,900.
entire space.
Okay,
I-
I'm clear now.
no,
Okay, all right,
I
got it,
wondered that too.
got it.
Is that,
Okay.
that is correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, my questions were all answered by staff.
I would like to invite the applicant up. Your name? and
Madam
address,
Chair,
please.
members of the commission, I'm Victor Graves, law offices of Victor Graves, PC. Councilmember Smalls, it's been a while. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening to speak on behalf of the applicant, BBB Enterprises, Inc. Most of you all know them as Zips Dry Cleaning. Zips has been here for 20 years, and they're ready to move to a new home just a half mile up the road on Route 1. It was not a difficult decision for them to locate here the first time because they have the family that owns Zips, Bart Casiala, who is here tonight, along with his wife Teresa, have deep roots here. Teresa went to Pilate and grew up in this community, and they're looking forward to continue right here in Laurel. And took a little bit of time to find an appropriate space, but that space does appear to be the old Meineke and Monroe muffler shop. I think it'll be quite an improvement for that shopping center to have a new occupant there who's going to have a very positive presence right there on Route 1. And they're looking forward to making some improvements there. Starting out with changing the facade. Obviously, we're still working on the architecturals of that, but that'll all be subject to approval of the city. We're going to ask that our statement of justification be incorporated by reference today into the record, as well as the staff's technical statement, which we adopt because we believe the staff is correct, that the applicant has in fact met the requirements of the Unified Code, Unified Land Use Code, and is eligible for this, assuming that the commission agrees with us and the Board of Appeals do. We believe at this time that we have provided quite a bit of information to the staff, and I have to say it's been a great pleasure working with them. Monte has been wonderful, as well as Mr. Love, and I didn't have the opportunity to meet Mr. Pulley until today, but clearly we're anxious to work with the city in whatever way we can to make sure that as we move to this new location, it's one of those things that benefits both the city as well as Zips. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have, and Mr. Casiello is here as well tonight to answer questions if you have any for me.
Thank you. I was just curious, what is the difference in space between where you are now and where they're moving?
The new location is going to be 3,900 square feet. Mr. Casiello, perhaps you can tell me.
The existing one is
6,500 square
Oh,
feet.
so you're actually becoming smaller.
The footprint is smaller, but the fact is that there's been change in technology over the years.
Oh.
Things are more compact. They're a lot more environmentally friendly, and it takes, like a lot of other things, less space than perhaps what it did even just a few years ago.
Access is very good at the new
Access
location
is
also.
Excellent, and in fact, that's a very attractive part of that because the ease of getting on and off of Route 1 in either direction and safely is really important to my client and to his customers, and that's certainly something that was taken into consideration.
Thank you. Any other questions?
It's certainly a big undertaking in changing that building, so how long do you think it's going to take to projected time it might be opening?
Well, at this point, they're already starting to work on the architecturals, and we hope to have the plans ready for submission for permits as soon as we get the Board of Appeals okay and you're okay on it. Bart, do you have an estimate of construction time?
Yeah, that's always an estimate, but they've told us that we could turn it around in 60 to 90 days.
Well, and I would say that's probably an optimistic estimate, not to challenge that, but my experience in dealing with contractors is 60 to 90 days, and we had permitting and anything goes wrong. But I can tell you this, it would be as expeditiously as possible because it's in everyone's interest to make this move quickly.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Mr. Cassiel, would you like to speak?
Just a few words.
Thank you.
I don't want to take up too
If
much
you
of
would
your
just state your name and address for the record.
Sure, it's Bart Cassiello, 3277 Breckenridge Way, Riva, Maryland, 21140. Just wanted to state that, we're proud to be part of Laurel, the city of Laurel. We've been here for 20 years. We've had opportunities to move out of the city. We've been invited by other landlords and all that, but we want to stay in Laurel. And we want to move to this new location because we can take advantage of the advances that have been made in dry cleaning. We'll be able to air condition the front of the store, which we can't currently do now. We've gone to an organic solvent, so a lot of the regulations and all have gone away. And with the changes and all that we've made, we've reduced waste and all, and we think we can better serve the customers, in this new location. So I appreciate your time and letting us talk, and I look forward to staying here for another 20 years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any questions?
I do believe I neglected to provide my address for the record. It is law offices of Victor Graves, PC, 1680 East Goody Drive, Suite 200, Rockville, Maryland, 20850.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to present this evening.
Thank you. I do not have anyone else currently signed up for this. The recommendation will be, if we have a motion for recommendation to the Board of Appeals. So there's not technically a public hearing on this. However, is there anyone else wishing to speak on this application? Hearing and seeing no one, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that the Planning Commission Madam Chairman, I make a motion that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the Board of Appeals to approve a special exception application number 885, Zips Dry Cleaners, 706 Washington Boulevard, filed by BBB of the Sound Group Enterprises Incorporation, with the staff report and the 8 recommendations in there by the city.
I'll second that motion.
Ms. Pulley, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Monta, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5, amended site and landscape plan application and resolution number 18-02-PC, Chi-bal Mexican Kitchen, 14933 Baltimore Avenue, filed by Roberto Ramirez. This agenda item includes public hearing on the application and final action by the Planning Commission.
Good evening again, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The applicant, Roberto Ramirez, is seeking amended site landscape application approval to install a fenced-in 790-square-foot seasonal outdoor patio at Chi-bal Restaurant located at 14933 Baltimore Avenue. The property is zoned commercial general and is surrounded by commercial and industrial properties on all sides. The project will include the installation of 9 concrete-filled pipe bollards placed 6 feet apart and 9 extra-large planters weighing between 500 to 1,000 pounds placed between the bollards. The installations will be placed near the entrance of the property coming off Baltimore Avenue. This project does not include any construction within the public right-of-way sidewalk, and the project will meet the 10% minimum net lot green area required in the CG zone per City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Section 20-17.11. It is recommended that the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve the amended site and landscape plan application for 14933 Baltimore Avenue with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall obtain all required City of Laurel permits prior to construction of the patio. 2, the applicant shall install 4 to 5 additional concrete filled pipe bollards spaced approximately 6 feet apart. 3, the applicant shall install extra large planters weighing 500 to 1,000 pounds placed in between the bollards. And 4, the applicant shall comply with all local, state, and federal laws and regulations in the development of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? Just as clarification, this is going to be just a deck, it's going to be open,
Correct, just in fenced in around.
just the fencing.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I do not have anyone currently signed up to speak on this. I would like to open the public hearing on this application. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the amended site and landscape plan for Chi-bal? Hearing and seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on this. Before I ask for a motion, I would like to compliment both our staff here for working with the applicant, and also as part of our package that we receive with all of the information. Council member Keith Sidnor submitted a letter for the record from the Public Safety and Transportation Committee. And when this application first came in, again, if you look at the picture, it was going to come out towards Route 1. It did not have the concrete posts around it. And that was a recommendation that came in from staff and came across from our Public Safety and Transportation Committee. So it takes a lot of different people looking at these to make recommendations, and we're looking forward to this if this passes. With that, I am open to a motion.
Madam Chair, there's nobody from the applicant to speak.
Well, the applicant is here if they wish to speak.
Did you have questions for the applicant?
Well, maybe staff can answer it. I was just curious about the metal fence. I didn't see a picture of it or a description of it. And I was wondering if you could describe it a little.
So on the application, it says a 36-inch high painted metal fence around the patio. Standard, the applicant might be able to better explain it to you, the design of it.
Yes, please. Welcome. If you would state your name and address, please.
Roberto Ramirez. I live at 13 Atwood Court in Silver Spring, Maryland, 20906. I guess the question was about I
was just curious
fence?
What the metal fence was, what it looked like.
A typical painted metal fence. It's 36 inches high. It's just a barrier so that...
Solid metal?
Solid metal.
You can't see through it. It's
no,
it's solid.
going to have balusters. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a typical... It's more of a guardrail more than a fence. But yeah, you'll be able to see through. 36 inches high, and it's going to be mounted, on the slab around the perimeter of the patio.
And then the concrete will be on the outside of that, the concrete belt.
Correct.
What would be on the outside?
Those concrete bollards.
They're on the outside.
They're
of
on
the
the
fence.
outside of the fence. So if a car approached and that was,
Right, so
it would go to the concrete.
There are two things going on. One is the bollards and the planters, which are more of a barrier for incoming traffic. The guard, it's more for the public, for the customers, I guess, if you're outdoors, so that no one can wander off from the premises.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be adding a door because there's not currently a door that
Off the side?
Yes, off the side that will go from the restaurant to the...
Correct.
So customers will enter the patio from inside the
From
restaurant?
inside the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Right, so we'll take out one of those windows and put a door.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
That's all I had.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
There are no further questions. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the amended site and landscape plan application for 14933 Baltimore Avenue with the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all required City of Laurel permits for construction of the patio. The applicant shall install 4 or 5 additional concrete-filled pipe bollards spaced approximately 6 feet apart. And the applicant shall install extra-large planters weighing 500 to 1,000 pounds placed in between the bollards. And the applicant shall comply with all applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations in the development of the property. And that motion would also include the resolution number 18-02-PC.
Do I have a second?
I will second that, Madam Chairman.
Ms. Pulley, if you would call the roll.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 6, concept site and landscape plan application and resolution number 18-01-PC, Contee Crossing 3, filed by Legend Builders Incorporated. This agenda item includes a public hearing on the application and final action by the Planning Commission. Robert.
Good evening, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. The applicant, Legend Builders Incorporated, is seeking approval for a concept site and landscape plan to subdivide 7.22 acres of land, construct 26 single-family detached dwellings to be located along Contee Road, Clarkwood Lane, and a new road to be constructed by the developer. This property is zoned R55, one family detached. The project will be known as Contee Crossing 3. The property was annexed into the city of Laurel in 2006. The subject property's final subdivision plan, formerly known as Snowden Place, was previously approved in 2007 to create 35 buildable lots to construct single-family detached dwellings. Surrounding the property to the north are single-family dwellings. To the west is the Islamic Community Center of Laurel. To the east is our single-family dwellings, and to the south is located outside the city limits of Laurel. The single-family lots will range in size from 6,500 square feet to 12,250 square feet. There will also be a storm water management area, currently listed at 37,556 square feet. The new development will also include a new road, sidewalks, utilities, and landscaping. The new road will be constructed to include a T-shaped turnaround at the end to accommodate emergency vehicles and Department of Public Works vehicles. Staff recommends that the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve the concept site and landscape plan for Contee Crossing 3 with the following conditions. Condition 1, the applicant shall obtain preliminary subdivision plan approval from the Planning Commission. Condition 2, the applicant shall obtain final site and landscape plan approval from the Planning Commission. Condition 3, the applicant shall obtain record plat approval from the Planning Commission. Condition 4, the applicant shall obtain forest conservation approval from the Planning Commission. Condition 5, the applicant shall also comply with any and all conditions of the approved concept plan. Condition 6, the applicant shall construct a publicly accessible recreational space, which includes a small play structure. The applicant shall seek Department of Parks and Recreation approval for the recreational space prior to approval of the final site and landscape plan. And finally, Condition 7, the applicant shall comply with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations and the development of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Not aye.
believe we have the applicant. Welcome.
Mike Collins, 307 Compton Avenue, Laurel, Maryland. We read the staff report. I've stood in front of you in 2007 with the same project. It was a little larger then. And everything that we got approved by every thing that y'all recommended. For some reason or another, things happened and we didn't do the project. So all the stuff, documents we have now just need to be revised to meet today's standards. And that's what we're working on now.
The houses that are to the, if this is, okay, so to the east of that, those were built in what year?
Those were built 2010, 11.
So those were built after this project was approved?
You're talking about the ones next to
the right,
Contee
and the
Road?
picture to the right.
Oh, to the right? No, they were built many years ago. That's by Beezer. I say 2004 or 5, somewhere around there.
Okay. So when this project was approved by the Planning Commission, which is before my time,
2007.
those houses were there at that
Correct.
time?
Yes, all of them.
Okay. And my question is, I've seen the site and landscape plan, but could not tell from that. Are you planning to deforest? I know there are trees and being planted and things like that, but in the initial phase, is the plan to deforest all of that? Or will those people along Clarkwood Road, obviously not the ones in the first because it's already, they don't have trees behind them, but as you go farther down, will there be any tree buffer there?
Our plan is to provide a tree buffer. We just don't know yet if we have to plant new trees to do it or use what's there existing now.
And does any of their property line currently go into the trees?
No, you could see, you could see their backyard where there is the property line where it's the arrows are right now, right there, correct?
Okay. Okay.
So, and our property obviously butts to it.
Do you have any idea how much of a buffer you're looking to
I
provide?
won't know that until we do our final site plan, which that's why we came in with a concept, so we could get approved and go back and do a site plan. And then, we can work with that, show some kind of buffer.
Okay.
We have no problem with that.
Okay. And there would be a park in this property
Yes,
that would be
one of
City of
the-
Laurel?
Yes, ma'am, that was one of the recommendations, and we'll apply with that. We'll come up
Okay.
with a design and come back to the Recreation Department and see if they approve it.
Okay. I do like the number coming down from 35 to 26.
But with the playground, it's going to come down less than that.
Okay. Okay. So it'll give it a little bit more space and things like that. And then what is the stormwater management piece of this?
Well, there is a large area right there that's already has stormwater management, and actually it can be reduced now because there was a lot of development above that. If you look right there in the center, yes, that shows it. That was our plan in 2007, but above that's been all developed, so the stormwater management should not be as great as it is right now.
Okay.
According to Prince George's County, I spoke to the head over there about that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
So Mike, are you saying that all of the approvals from '07, they're expired?
Yes, sir, they are.
When did they expire? How long is that good for?
What was the 5?
It's usually for a final site plan, it's like 5 years, and then the forest conservation, if they don't start the development, it all expires, and then they have to come back to get reapprovals.
And the house, the vacant house that's sitting there now next to the mosque, that's part of the property?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not?
That's
No,
on
sir.
the other side.
Yeah, that's one above me. You can see it right over there to the left of that one arrow.
Now, this is coming past it. I sat there for a while today, and there's a sign on Contee Road for our application for tonight, and then also another one on the Clarkwood side. Clarkwood, am I saying that right? Is it Clarkwood?
Madam Chair, that the new stoplight will probably be right at our entrance right now. They have the new stoplight in there now.
Okay, that's what I was wondering when I saw that. It's Bell Chase going in the stoplight.
correct.
And, okay.
Are there plans there for that little vacant house? Is that something else coming along?
I don't know who even owns it, Mr. Wilford. Otherwise, I'd buy it. I don't know who owns it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one or two comments, more than questions. On the stormwater management, I've heard from residents of some of the neighboring communities who have raised issue, particularly with stormwater issues on Contee Road. Will your project help abate some of that? We've had the county come out and take a look, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm hoping that any added projects will help solve some of the stormwater issues that I've gotten complaints about.
Mr. Councilman, now with the new laws and codes, every house that we build will have dry wells, where the downspouts will be buried and go into the ground and won't run off. So right, every home built back then didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 5-6 years, every home I built, I have to do dry wells on the property.
Excellent.
It prevents anybody no runoff off the property.
No. How about stormwater management?
Well, you still have the curbs, and then you have
pond?
the storm drains, and they go into the pond. But you don't have as much runoff as you would have in the past.
I got you. Okay. My only other comment is, again, having talked with residents in the communities along Contee Road, an added playground will be a real bonus, particularly as a public amenity, because there's nothing in that area for young people, children, to do around the area. So that's a real plus.
When I built the 5 homes that are on the corner there, I met with the homeowners over there at HOA, and we joined their HOA, and I would like to do the same on these projects.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we'll open the public hearing on this application and do have several people signed up. But what I'd first like is for Robert, if you would please help explain exactly what is in front of this commission tonight. As Mr. Collins stated when I asked the question about the trees and the buffers, that is still something that will come before this body for us to approve and or make recommendations or changes. So that is not what we are voting on tonight. What we're voting on tonight, if you would just clarify so that everyone understands.
What you're voting on tonight is the design, the initial design that was provided along with the conditions and any further conditions you'd like. If you would like to add, there needs to be a tree buffer, we will add that on to it. This is the very first step of multiple steps that are happening, because there still needs to be a preliminary and then also a final. So most definitely, I mean, it's wide open right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to open the public hearing on this application at 7:37, and I have first signed up Ty and Glenn Brown. Welcome, and if you would please come to and state your name and address.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I'm Ty Hall Brown. I'm at 13813 Clarkwood Lane, Laurel, Maryland.
Glenn Brown, 13813 Clarkwood Lane, Laurel, Maryland.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing us today and having us here. We really want to be on top of what's going on in our community. We enjoy our community and really feel like it's a great place to live and want to kind of maintain that as we're moving forward. For us, it was a surprise to know that there were going to be at least 26 new houses that were going to be behind us, but we were very pleased to hear of some of the changes that were made as they've talked about it. But we do have a couple of concerns, and hopefully either they can be answered now or can come back to us. I know one of the things was the water and sewage drainage, and so I'm glad that was asked earlier. But in addition, we are assessed a front foot fee, and we're not sure how that all merges or meshes together if people are starting to tap into those same systems. But that's one question I know that we have as a community or as a family.
I'll pause you there.
Sure.
Are you taking the questions down and then you'll help determine if
Yes.
time or if that's something? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We also had some questions about just kind of the disruption to our community while the building is taking place. We noticed that sometimes when the road was being built at the top of our street, we had construction vehicles parked in our driveway. We've had nails in our tires from things, being out there. So we're really concerned in terms of how that's going to impact the community and what the time frame is for that. And then we're also interested in the deforestation, so I'm really glad that you also brought that up as well. Not so much for our house in terms of the buffer, which is another big point, but we know when they first started building those other 5 houses at the top, we had foxes in the middle of the street kind of just crying, trying to figure out where their home was because there's been so much deforestation. So when we first came, we knew that a lot of that was reserve, or had told us that it was reserve. So we're curious as to how much of that will be kept because we are, there's a lot of wildlife that our kids and our families love and enjoy, and we would hate to see all of that go. So we were really curious about that. And then I think the last thing that I had was the given that we have County Crossing 1, County Crossing 2, and this will be County Crossing 3, is there a way for us to bridge and kind of make us more of a community as opposed to 3 separate areas? Whether that be some kind of connector, or the park is one idea, which is great. We really want to make sure that we kind of pull everyone together. There was a mention that they're part of our HOA, but to our knowledge and to some of our neighbors' knowledge, they're not a part of our HOA. And if that's the case, we'd love that. It's not saying that it can't be, but we really need to figure out, I guess, how we make this a community and not just 3 separate little, entities that are right next to each other.
All excellent points.
Hello. My point was the traffic pattern. How does that impact how everything is right now? And I'm curious to know, since the new traffic pattern has been put in place, is there any data on the number of accidents that have occurred? Just speaking on my own community, like how we have to come in and out. We can only go one way.
Right.
And if we're coming from the north, we have to go all the way down to almost to Shoppers to make a U-turn to turn around. So I don't think that there was any consideration for our community when the plans were put in. Hey, every other community has an outlet, but we don't have an outlet where we can make that left turn to go down Contee.
I appreciate your comments there. When I went, I've been a little under the weather. I don't normally wait until the last day to drive the property lines that are on our agenda, but it was today that I was there, and I was coming from where I live over at Stratfield in Wellington. And again, to your point, you have to drive well past, make a U-turn. The only saving grace I felt was that with the road done now, there is a nice sight line. You can see far enough, but you've got multiple lines. I'd like to ask Councilman Smalls, not that it's an excuse or anything like that, but to tell you the city of Laurel had I don't believe, any input into the design of that new road.
That's a county road, so the city doesn't have any. However, when that road was being redeveloped and reconfigured, we did submit some testimony because we heard from your neighbors. And the concern you have is, the egress that you no longer have turning in certain directions, but it fell on deaf ears with the county. Now, I don't know if staff has anything to add, but we are very much aware of the inconvenience that causes, but it's definitely a county road.
Yes, sir. And I would just like to say, is there any way that it could possibly be incorporated into the new light?
I was just going to say, Mike, I don't know if this would turn your plans on its ear, but I know similar to our recommendations down at Patuxent Greens, which we have not resolved, but if your new road is truly going to come out at that traffic light, is there any way, now I don't know how those front 5 houses would feel, but is there any possibility of an egress between Clarkwood and your new road to get them out to that? That would really help make a community. But I have some options for that. Okay. So again, this is an initial recommendation, but if that is something you could look at, and it's not normal that we're kind of all talking to multiple people, but, and then the other thing is, Mike, can they follow up with you possibly after this meeting about the HOA? Because I do agree.
They are, those ones I did are in the HOA. Recorded and everything.
But maybe you can get his number and you can talk about what some of the things. If Wellington was built in multiple sections, and I live right off of Cherry Lane.
Yes.
And then it quite a few different phases over many years, and our HOA has worked to incorporate all four of the phases. So I think, again, you brought up excellent points. Is there any comment or answer on the water sewage?
I will be sure to get with them
Okay.
on all the rest of your concerns.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next person that I have signed up for this agenda item is Stanley Robinson. Welcome. If you would please state your name and address.
Stanley Robinson, 13817 Clockwood Lane, Laurel, Maryland. And I have concerns about the tree buffers. The last time things were being constructed in that area, trees got weak, they fell, and then he's talking about leaving some trees. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I think that's when I asked the question, I believe what his answer was, they would have to study once they figure out the buffer, because they would not leave trees if it would cut off the roots to where they're backing up. So that.
And then I'm into uniformity. The mailboxes they used on these houses here do not match the mailboxes for our community that they put out. And when the homeowners moved in these places, they looked like they didn't comply with our homeowners association stuff.
Okay.
So I don't think they got any type of information on our homeowners. But
I think we'll work.
Right. I'm not, I think Legend, he didn't build plenty of homes in the Laurel area. I've seen them. They're nice, some of them nice communities. But we just want to keep our community uniform. And then the homes are slightly smaller, on the front side, the first three homes, they are smaller than the homes that are in there. Okay. So we want that to be kind of, you build the right size homes compared to our homes.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much. I do not have anyone else signed up. However, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this agenda item? Please, sir, in the back, go ahead. If you would state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jim McKinney. I live at 13916 Chadsworth Terrace. So I'm in those houses to the east, the very back row in the top left corner. So I just had a couple more questions. One of them is related to the talking about the road that would be a good idea to build, but also if there would possibly even be walking trails, running trails, anything like that that might connect the communities. So that's one of them. Let's see. And I share concerns about construction equipment. And let's see. Just more broadly how it might affect our community, the new community, if there are just any other thoughts on how that might affect us that we're not thinking of that they have.
Are you part of the Wellington development? Is that?
Mine's Contee Crossing 1, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm new. I just moved in like a month or two ago. I actually don't even know where Contee Crossing 2 is, if anybody could point that out.
I think it's where they are.
Oh, it's the front.
Oh, the 5.
Small little section up top.
Up top. Oh, okay. Thank you. So other than that, I just concur with the other things that have been said. So
thank you. And so did you received notice of this?
I did.
This meeting. Wonderful. And you will continue to receive notice every time this is on the agenda. Doesn't mean you have to, if you have questions that come up, that you can't contact staff.
Perfect.
So.
And I should register ahead of time in the future?
For speaking?
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, it's when you walk in.
Oh, okay.
There's a sign-up sheet on the right.
Great.
And the one that had the names they bring up right as it started, but there should
Perfect.
still be another one there.
Okay.
We're always open to it.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could just add to his comment about connectivity. Walkable communities are something that the mayor and council and this administration is very much in tune to. So you'll actually notice as development takes place along Contee Road, from Van Dusen down to Shoppers, that's all eventually, as development continues to take place, going to be walkable. So it's something that we are positively very much in tune.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Shola Odumade.
I'm sorry, your name?
Shola Odumade, 13900 Chadsworth Terrace. So my question is, well, going again in regards to the branches or the trees that they're going to be conserving. Now, the question, based on what Ty and Glenn have already spoken about, I'm concerned because my house is the first one that is directly behind where the new community is going to be. So right there.
Okay. Right there. Okay.
So, the concern that I have is preserving those trees and also the deforestation, especially when they were building Contee Crossing 2. There were a whole lot of snakes that came out. I have young children, and I'm concerned about that, especially at the back. So it's something that I know that's not for today, but whenever, that they're going to have that session, we would like to be a part of and be able to have a solution in place that will be, family friendly.
Thank you very much. Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. Busolo Patrick, 13900 Clockwood Lane. The question that I have is, when they had the construction of the last 4 or 5 homes, it seems like there were few thefts in the neighborhood. Just wanderers, I guess the people building, they just kind of straddled around. So my question is, now that they're going to be building 26 homes, how do they plan on keeping that contained so that there are no stragglers just hanging out in the community?
Typically, that would probably be a police matter.
Yeah, it's something we certainly could. I know that, for example, when they're building, the no trespassing signs are up, and it is City of Laurel property, so that could be noted for Laurel Police to make sure that we have people over there. But
that would be really helpful because, as mentioned, when they had the 4 or 5 homes, there were thefts, and there were random people just kind of walking around the community. So we would really appreciate the safety when you're building. Nice. The other thing that I wanted to stress, and I think that our neighbors have kind of mentioned everything, it would be nice to have the homes comparable to what was in Contee 1 and Contee 2. I'm familiar with some of your homes on Old Sandy Spring, and they seem a little smaller. So if you can kind of put that in mind to make it comparable. Because
are you talking about the townhomes, the duplexes?
No, these are single-family homes on Old Sandy Spring. I believe Legend has some homes all the way down. So yeah, they're single-family homes, and they're smaller. We would like it for the homes to be comparable to the size of what we have, because if some of us want to sell the property, we don't want it diminishing our value. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Abbas Wuri. Abbas Wuri. I live at 13815 Clarkwood Lane, same neighborhood. So first of all, I want to commend proposed builder for actually considering a playground for our kids. We have a whole bunch of children that are actually dying to get a place to play around the neighborhood. So we commend you for that. We hope that will come to fruition when things happen. Now, I have a concern. I mean, every year we foot a bill from Main Street Utility, which nobody told us about when you're buying these homes. As soon as you get in, then you will get a bill in October that says you have to pay $580 for some kind of infrastructure on the ground to do what?
Is that coming from the City of Laurel?
I think so. Front foot, yeah.
Pardon me?
For sewage, yeah. Yes. So I'm wondering, would this new addition to
That is not something that anyone here is familiar with. Is that something that you could, following up, give Robert your name, or any of you?
Oh yeah, you want to bring it to our attention?
Let us find out. That's Mike. Do you have any idea what that might be?
It's a front foot. It's from
water. That's from WSSC.
This is from Main Street Utility LLC.
It's a different company, but it was what it is. The developer pays for the water and sewer connection, and he sells it to a company that collects that $520 a year for
580. Yes.
And that's not part of when they bought their houses?
County everywhere.
Yeah.
When they bought their house, that wasn't...
It was not disclosed.
Oh.
No.
It was in your contract? Okay.
And it's recorded and everything.
Okay.
Hey, I'm paying. Nobody else.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think
so-
that I had that. So that is not a City of Laurel, anything that we are associated with.
Okay. But at least now we bring it to our attention because that was one of my concerns. Just in case they build these homes, are they going to consume some of that cost? I don't know how it's going to happen.
It won't go down because they don't have connections yet. They're going to eventually get the connections also.
So once they get the connections, then what's going to happen? Are they going to pay the same 500
It'll
or?
be the same amount.
But it won't, theirs won't go up based on, okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, and in addition to that, I pretty much agree to everything else all my neighbors have said. I think we all have the same concerns. But again, we hope you bring the park to fruition or the little playground. We're looking forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
I would just like to ask, duration of the project, start to finish your projection.
And the construction entrances are going to be for your neighborhood at all, so it's going to be out on Contee Road. No trucks will be coming into your
Aren't
property.
they building two more?
There's a couple houses right there in the end, but other than that, no.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. That's right.
The first 2 hot communities first to get it over.
I want him to look at getting that exit. One more question, and then I will go ahead and move on. Yes.
You mentioned that the construction is going to be on. I mean, will it create any kind of traffic on Contee?
No, there's not.
They should come to the mic so they can get it.
Mike, I'm sorry, just, go ahead, finish that. So the question, I'm just speaking through the mic so that we've got this recorded. The question was, is it going to cause any kind of a traffic jam or traffic? And I believe Mike's answer was no, that they will be coming in and off of Contee Road, not staging on Contee Road or any of that, as it's.
Three that are going to be built on car, but all the construction entrance will be coming in through our new road.
The new road, which has not. Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could say, Mr. Grace will be going around to get your information so we can get back
Thank
with
you. For everyone that spoke, if you would please, and I tried to write down, but my spelling over here is probably not. If you would make sure that you sign that, and we'll get some of the answers to your questions also. All right. Again, I appreciate everyone that came out to speak this evening. And if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion. Yes. With the stack. I have to come back. We were just clarifying what the motion would entail.
Because this is, okay.
Mr. Kish?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the concept site and landscape plan for Contee Crossing 3 with the noted exception, seven exceptions. And that is number 18-01-
Do I have a second?
A second.
Christian, for the record, if you can please note that the public hearing was closed at 7:57.
Noted.
Thank you. And we have a motion and a second. And again, the motion that is on the table includes the staff recommendation that included all of the recommendations. For example, including the subdivision plan approval comes back to us, the final site and landscape plan, all of those things that we talked about will be coming back here. Okay? If you would please call the roll.
Mr. Kish?
Yes.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no other business before the body tonight. The meeting is adjourned.